Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I sound like a newsreader to everybody today. Welcome, Lisa, and welcome, Debra, and I'm Akushi to another spiritual, Flowing with the Spiritual Cafe. And April is going to join us shortly. And the topic today is superabundance. And the reason why we have chosen to share our experiences, our feelings, our thoughts, our tidbits on this is because there is a paradox in the world. In the world, there is a message being given out to people and reflected back to us, a message of lack. You know, it's taught to us in many areas of our life, from children to now to adult. And it's not a truth. The truth is that reality is that there is superabundance, and superabundance lives within us, and it's also reflected to us in the world. If we go outside and we look at nature, we see the superabundance there. We see how the insects, how the animals, how the solar system, how the sun, how the moon in abundance supports us in our daily lives and reflects back the abundance in flowers, in food, in water, in nature, in so many ways back to us. And I appreciate that, you know, there is a real issue at the moment about taking care of our planet and taking care of the superabundance that we have. And I really feel that if we can unlock this, if we can just rise to this knowingness that we have this superabundance within us, and that we awaken and become aware to taking care of each other and our planet and all the inhabitants on the planet, then there is a strong possibility that we can reverse this mindset of lack and reverse the destruction that is happening in the world through not being aware and through ignorance. And there are different organizations that are really passionate about this. And one of them, I will mention it because I'm really going to start getting more involved in it. And it was started in the UK, and it is by two friends of mine, Scott and Angie, and you can find them on Facebook, and it's Extinction Rebellion. And they've got the true facts, and they are non-violent organizations that are really walking their talk and educating people, having marches all over London and all over England, and it's expanding more and more. So take a look, Extinction Rebellion. And I think one day I'm going to invite either Scott or Angie to come on and have a little discussion with us on Spiritual Cafe, if you're okay with that. Anyway, it's great to be here. Last week we had a little bit of a break. We were all feeling that we needed to take self-love and care for ourselves, and we honoured each other, and we took time out. And that is another, although for some people it might seem it's not, but it's a real essential loving care for ourselves too. When we're feeling tired, give ourselves permission to just rest and take time out. Anyway, would either of you two lovely ladies like to share your thoughts on superabundance and how it shows up in your lives?
I was kind of flooded. And Lisa, if you want to talk, go ahead, because I can't wait to hear what you say.
Oh, no, go, Debra.
While you're talking, Akushi, it kind of shifted me into being willing to look at superabundance for a minute. And I was reminded, as you spoke, of the source, the field, all that is that we work with, that each of us as an individual essence is our soul, or whatever you call us, is an embodiment of this amazing thing that's beyond definition in the physical. And as we were alive, even, we're constantly, every part of us is spinning around this divine essence. And I was remembering our planet and how our beloved planet, we like to call it, she is that same amazing, indefinable essence that's just continually spinning and evolving. And then that leads me also to think about how we create. We create by making decisions, by I believe, the best of my knowledge, by saying not this, this, and we kind of go down these little channels to manifest things on the planet. So I wanted this, and the more defined I make it, the more I can use my essence and put my essence into this material form on the planet. The earth, I have no idea how that operates. It's amazing, you know, but I see that as a soul, as an essence, and a creator within that divine, that lots of times I and others, people on this planet, are making decisions for our own desire, or our own whatever ego desire, or something that may be harming that bigger free-flowing essence. Sure, I know we need to live here. We need to find a home. We need, you know, we have to build a home. We have to actually dig and change the surface of the earth a bit just to even build a home. So it's all negotiation. And I was talking to Akushi and being the presence of Reverend Lisa also. It's just like, okay, so how do we stay open to this? How do we continue to manifest as we can, and do so in love for our planet? Because this is the big manifesting, where the big manifesting game is going on for us on this earth this time. So see, I don't know anything. I have lots of questions.
Well, you know, if I can say that, you know so much, because, you know, I've known you for 10 years, no, about 8 years, Debra, and I'm getting to know you more and more and loving every minute of it. And one thing that I would say that you express with so much humility is your superabundance. And you showed it to me earlier on this week when you had a leak, put it that way, and the way that you went into the center, even though this was happening, and you started to understand the abundance that was coming in from this experience, rather than staying in that 3D place where it was just the material 3D thing was happening and this was a chaos in your life. You know, you went into that place of superabundance to transcend the egoic mind of, you know, drama and reaction and all of that, and into a space of, okay, we need to do this, we've got to address the situation. However, what is the highest meaning in this? And then from that, there was so much more that opened up to you. For me, that's superabundance. That's the true wealth, the true gift, the true richness. And sometimes I feel that in my life, you know, the conditioning about, you know, we have to get what we need from outside there. And one of the things is money. As I've gone through my life and I've tested that over and over again, it's not true. What we really get that satisfies us, money cannot buy. It can encourage us to get there. You know, it can give us the platforms or the courses or the opportunities to come to this place. But what the true place of superabundance is so attractive that when we really step into that, it's like it's the voice, it's the ears and the voice for our true desire, not the desire that we've been given in layers throughout our lifetimes from, let's say, religion, maybe the place where we were brought up in the religion, the culture, you know, the education, the friendships, wanting to please, our insecurities, the shadow, whatever, you know, all sorts of different areas we've been given this place where we've been constantly told, you know, it is in the outside. And I've been told it many, many times in my life, you know, come on, you're being silly, you're airy-fairy, and yet I've held true. I've fallen down, got up, fallen down, got up, fallen down, got up. But I've held true to one thing, and that was the feeling that I had given to me so many times that and reflected back to me by so many beautiful souls in my life that superabundance is really so attractive, and that if I follow this, follow this place, richness comes to me. Yeah, I get excited.
Yeah.
And deeply touched. And there are times when the superabundance, my understanding of it, my simple understanding of it, and I am a simple being, I explain things in a very simple way. I channel in the moment. I don't remember lots of information. Oh, and you see, Indigo agrees too. And Indigo being Lisa's beautiful doggy. For me, the superabundance touches my heart, and it makes me want to weep, because I want to share this with the world, that there's a better way than we've been told. Here we are.
Sorry, she's ready to go outside, so I'm trying to distract her for a little bit.
Yeah, good luck with that then.
With her llama.
Oh, hello, look at that face. Mummy. Oh.
Oh, so this is so fascinating that we're talking about this today, because I got guided to do a to really take a deep dive into the root, the core of abundance. And I actually listened to a meditation last night and took some notes. But the one thing that kept coming up, the main thing that kept coming up over and over with abundance, is surrender. So it's surrendering. One of the things that I had written down, the way to achieve true abundance is to surrender to the place that you are in now.
Perfect.
And while always investigating how true it is that you are holding yourself in that place. So it really has to do with your belief systems. And that belief system that has been programmed over and over and over again, and the polarities of wealth or no wealth. So it's like the people who have the tremendous wealth in the world usually aren't very happy, okay? Because they have this system of control and the system of beliefs that create this wealth, but yet inside there is not that abundance of happiness or love. And so it's very, very typical that you see this time and time and again. So, and I just wrote down this, when we don't surrender to life, to this super, I love that Akushi brought this up, the super abundance of life, everything that's available, the blooming trees, the water flowing, how earth magically is just so super abundant. So when we come in with the control, that creates the unabundant state in our inner reality. And I really love that, because we can't receive that abundance from the universe if we're blocking it with our belief system. Hi, April.
Hi, April.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, April.
So for me, that super abundant, it really does come within, and really looking at what, if we are in lack, what's holding us there? What is that belief that's holding us in lack? And the other analogy I loved is that no one has problem with Santa Claus, right? We don't even know him. And yet we are so excited because he's going to give us presents. And we don't even know him. And every year we're like, Santa's coming, yay. And I'm going to get these presents. As little kids, we were so excited. So he does this every year for free. Children have no problem in receiving. So it's like, if we could just imagine the universe is Santa. Okay. And Father Christmas is the universe, and the universe wants to give to you. And it really is, and you don't have to take everything that's offered. We have this free will. This is our divine sovereign right to have this free will, but yet I love that. I'm like, okay, that's how I'm going to be focusing on this next phase because,
I love that.
you know, I mean,
That's great.
it is the universe. So that's how superabundance I'm going to invite into my life, because it really is true. I mean, think of what those children believed before they knew that Santa was, you know, before they found out that Santa was the parents.
Wait, is Santa the parents?
Oh no! Oh,
That?
sorry, April. Oh my gosh.
No, there is a Santa. Don't be telling me that.
There is a Santa. He's magical too. But they truly believe, and I think that's the core. That's the core of superabundance, is the belief system. We truly believe in that that the universe is going to provide, but that takes a lot of work in here, and up here. You know, in the subconscious programmings that we've had since, oh my gosh, since we got into the system of, you got to have this, this, and this in order to be comfortable, or this, this, and this in order to be successful, this, this, and this. You know, it was those thises that got us off track from the real flow of abundance, because we were in the system. I mean, there was no other choice. I mean, I got put in the system right away, from my parents, you know, go to college, get a job, make money, be successful, do this, do that, you know, and you have to have a certain amount to live. And oh, guess what? There's money that isn't real, and it's called credit. So if you don't have the money, go to money that's not real. And so, you know, then the system starts infiltrating what it is that it takes to live, when it's all around us and we were just kind of not looking at it from that perspective. So anyway, that's I was pretty excited when I got up this morning. I knew you were going to do superabundance. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just went through this whole thing because I lost 2 main clients last week, and that was my whole my income for this whole next 6 to 8 weeks. So I went,
Yeah.
And because people are functioning on fear, and they're afraid to let go of their money, because they don't feel like they're abundant, so they're holding on. And so it was really a great lesson for me to say, here I am in this position, and what is the true abundance? And as soon as I let go, as soon as I started digging deep into my belief system of growing up on a farm, and it was either feast or famine, and mostly famine. So I grew up in lack of, or needing more to survive. And that was a core of my belief system. And so I had to dig really deep on that and let that go and say, oh my goodness, no, that no longer is aligned with the work that I'm doing, the inner leader movement, and helping people come into their full potential and possibilities of living life in joy and happiness for the time we have left here, even though it is crazy and chaotic. And I mean, there's so many things that we can do. So it really narrowed down to me on the belief system, and I had to really do a lot of work on that. And that's why I like, Akushi, you were talking about the flu-like symptoms. My flu-like symptoms last week was my belief system that I was still holding on to. Some I knew, some I didn't know, based in my subconscious programming.
Sure.
So that was my flu.
Thank you so much for that, Lisa. And I think, you know, it seems like, and April will tell us in a moment very soon, that we've all seem to have been going through something pretty major last week. You know, for me, again, I had to go deeper into my core belief system, the unconscious one. And one of them, you know, in mine, and I am embarrassed to say this, but let's just put it all on the table and be humble about it. The belief system in my family is that I was the pretty one. So for my belief system, and it goes finer and finer and finer. The belief system for me is that if I'm not looking good, if I'm not beautiful, if I'm not the best, if I'm not the prettiest, I won't be loved. You know, and I went to biodancer, and I certainly am not the prettiest, was not the best, and I was loved. So I still found it painful. I still had to come back home. There's something much deeper that happened as well that was really connected. It was, you know, somebody came there that has a connection with somebody else that was very dear to me and that's not in my life now. And she was absolutely beautiful. My heart went out to her. All I could do was surrender to it and rise to that superabundance, that higher place. When I came home, I felt really good that I'd done that, but I crashed a little bit, because the realization is great, but there's the surrender, and you said that earlier, the surrender in it. And the surrender it's like giving up something. This belief system is giving up something that felt so precious, that we thought was a wealth, that was rich, even in the unconscious. And when we give up this, it's sad, there's a loss. And I went deeply into that. And, you know, at times, without giving it too much credence, because I've done the inner work, I don't really need to sit with it now, I know it now. It's just letting go of it and surrendering to it. But there are moments when deep sadness comes in there, and I watch it, I carry on, and I let it go. Anyway, welcome, April.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you. We've had a week off. We were just saying we were taking care and giving ourselves self-love, and how important it is, you know, for us to be unconditionally loving to ourselves, give ourselves that break. And then here we are, and it's so lovely to see everyone's lovely face and your lovely face. And the topic today is superabundance. And so we've all shared a little bit. You've heard some of Lisa's. I was just talking about, you know, how we've been given the erroneous conditioning that, you know, the world is in lack, and it's reflecting back to us in so many ways. And yes, if we look outside, we see the true abundance is always here, in nature, you know, in the water, in the friendships, in our hearts, in so many different ways. And Debra was sharing about her experiences of superabundance, and how that is reflected back, and how she can go into that space, that centeredness, that oneness, where, you know, where the superabundance lives. And so that's just sort of capping it a little bit. I don't remember much. I'm very much in the moment. I channel in the moment. And so we'd love to hear your experiences and tidbits and realizations on this amazing, beautiful topic, superabundance.
Well, you know, it's interesting. What comes to mind to me for some reason, I remember about, let's just say about 25 years ago, I was walking through my corridor of my home, and this was before what I call my conscious awakening. And I walked through the corridor, and I just came to a dead stop, and I looked around my house, and I contemplated my life, and all this happened in like 20 seconds, and I went, I created all this. I went, and I kept walking, and I never thought about it again for probably 20 years, right? So what made me stop in my tracks and really realize that, you know, I created this before my conscious awakening? I don't know, I find that pretty interesting. I haven't really thought about it much, but I go back to that quite often now, because I really, really, really know I create everything in my life. And I think the last time we got together, you know, I said awareness. If I could bring anything to anyone, it would be awareness of everything, of anything, of all of it, right? So it just takes me back into the awareness of how we really create everything in our lives, and being open to the abundance that is really our divine birthright. You know, we hear that, but it really is the divine truth. And so what I have found is when I open my heart, literally open my heart, and I visualize, you know, like if you're in a wind tunnel and the wind's coming towards you, if you could see the light particles of just abundance coming to you, and all you have to do is everything that has ever been created started with a thought, right? And then the feeling is what takes those adamantine particles and manifests whatever we want. one of the things that often comes to my attention is that we're always creating. Whether the universe doesn't know, am I creating what you want? Am I creating what we would define as good or bad, a good experience, lack, abundance? The universe just creates whatever we send out. And, Akushi, like you were saying, it's a lot of work to keep focused on creating, joy, abundance, happiness, financial security. It's a lot of effort to stay into complete awareness with every moment of every day, with every thought and every action. It's a lot of work, but it's so worth it. And I find that when I do that and I live in the awareness of what I have created, again, I think I said this last week, it just increases my faith and knowing that I am the creator of everything in my little bubble. And sometimes I have this thing that I love being in my bubble. I love my universal bubble, right? Because it's not part of the world. We've all heard that saying, we're in the world but not of the world. That could not be a truer statement. So every once in a while, I pop out of my bubble just so I know I have the knowledge of what's going on. Because there's so much spiritual things that's going on behind our government, with Gaia, with energies coming in, with, our galactic brothers and sisters, angels, archangels, all kinds of non-physical beings. There's so much going on. And I remember saying to myself about 4 years ago, again, it was one of those stop in my tracks, and I went, I think there's so much more going on in the non-physical than the physical. I wonder what that is. I just knew it. And then 4 years of digging into that, and I'm just constantly going, what? Oh my God, talk about your belief system being shattered. I'm just going, no, what? What happened to my little, simple Christian beliefs that I was so conditioned to believe growing up? And I'm so happy that I live in the awareness and the knowing that all of that was conditioning and an illusion. And that I do have choices. I am the creator. I am love. I am loved beyond unconditional love from the universe, all of the things that we're grateful for, our family, our friends, the unknown. I've come to embrace the unknown and living in faith, in abundance of keeping the heart open and living in the flow. Kusi, I love that you say, you always talk about being in the flow. And when we surrender and live in the flow and live under God's will, which I've come to really embrace this week, is the Christ, the God within us, the will for ourselves and our divine purposes for being here. So it's not just a little piece, God's will. It's the God's will universally, but it's also we have a God's will, Christ's will within us that is our God self, that knows our path. And when we surrender to that, life is so abundant. And I have learned over and over again. I had someone say to me yesterday, well, I had everything all planned out, and it's not working the way I planned it. And I just started cracking up. I'm like, that's, God's up there laughing at you right now, right? But what I have learned so many times is that God's will is so much greater than our own will for ourselves. And I have seen it demonstrated time and time and time again in my life before I finally started surrendering. You know what? I'm just going to be in the flow. Whatever is put in front of me. My friends will say to me, start, asking me to be part of all these plans. And I'm like, wait. I can't commit to 12 months of plans, right? I have to live in the moment. And they're like, what are you talking about? Don't you, yes, it's okay to make plans, but you got to be flexible and be in the flow, right? Otherwise, when our plans are changed, we get upset, right? And I'm just so grateful for all of the experiences that, you know, we've all had. And at the time, oh my God, are they challenging? I just spoke to my sister yesterday and she was in tears. She's in a challenging time. And she's like, I said something about God, and she said, I've given up on God. I said, oh, please don't do that. Your life will not, please don't do that. So I was reading a book that has become my Bible, and I'll share it with you guys because it's literally become my Bible. It's called 7 Sacred Flames.
Yep, heard of that.
It's a must-have, especially during this ascension times.
Wonderful.
Amelia, who's the author?
Amelia Louise Jones. And it encompasses everything that we ever need to know from this moment forward for our ascension and everything in our lives at this point. And when you get it and read it, you go, oh, I completely get what you're saying. But I just happened to be reading about, it was the first flame, the first sacred flame, which is God's will, and about surrendering and how we are tested. And I used to never believe that we were tested, but we test ourselves. These are set up tests that we do to ourselves for, our ascension process. And yes, with the energies coming in this week, I had to take a look at a couple of things that brought up emotions in me. But I'm so grateful to have the tools to go, it's not about the emotion, it's not about the circumstance. This is looking in the mirror going, you still have a little more to release. Otherwise, this wouldn't be affecting you. This talks about everything being a mirror in our lives. And it's really challenging to look at a challenging situation and go, the lesson is for me. Where's the lesson in this? It's not about the circumstance. It's not about the person. This is about things within me that I still need to look at and release so that all the other good stuff can come.
Sure.
So I think that it all comes together in releasing, being in awareness, opening your heart to the abundance, being in the flow, and letting life happen. A friend of mine, Ami Tobin, he is a songwriter, and he wrote this song, Let Life Do You. Oh, I've got to play it for you sometime. Just let life do you. We don't have to be doing life all the time. It really is so simple, right?
Right. Wonderful. I'm just going to bring it to a close in a moment because it automatically stops recording. And I think we've got about 5 minutes left. So thank you, April. Interestingly, you chose to discuss superabundance in your way, in your expression. And even though you hadn't been on the call when Debra, myself, and Lisa were talking, we all brought up in our own way that the way into this is surrender and surrender to it. So it's pretty amazing how the light speaks through all of us in our own unique and wonderful way. We're all so, everyone is so important to this time, this awakening, this ascension. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity for us to share this. And one thing that when you were talking about thought being, how we think about our world is how it will present itself to us. I remember not so long ago, last October, when I was going through the dark night of the soul again and was in a very sad place, grieving and letting go and loss and surrendering to it. And I remember a beautiful friend of mine who is, she does spirituality in her own way with her family. And she said to me, Akushi, the worst thing that can happen to you is a thought. I'll leave you with that. And that was so powerful. Here I was wanting all this, poor me. But she said that, that just woke me up again. I thought, absolutely, get out of your head. you know, the worst thing that happened. And I think the other thing that I had a look at the superabundance key and the gene keys, which is something that I study and love. And the superabundance gene key in the one of the quotes of Richard Rudd, this is the gene keys, it's absolutely amazing. It's, you can't see it that way, it's by Richard Rudd. It's an amazing system that helps you to look through the shadow, see the gift, and transcend into the city, you know, the opportunity